So here at CES, I was lucky enough to attend not one, not two, but 3 different processor launches from 3 different manufacturers, Qualcomm, Intel, and AMD. And it's kind of crazy because they're all kind of the same type of chip. We'll see them in the same type of devices, but they were all launched under very different circumstances. The Qualcomm chip that I saw launched was the X2 Plus, and Qualcomm had already launched their X2 series of processors, so this was kind of a smaller launch, but still a very fun event. The next one I attended was the Intel event, which was probably the biggest and most exciting chip that I saw the whole week, and I'll talk about that more in just a bit. This was a major launch for them. In fact, plastered all over the city, you would see signs of the Core Ultra Series 3. And then the last one, which was just so minimal, was during the AMD keynote. And I say minimal, but the keynote was very impressive. A lot of things going on. I was lucky enough to be right up in the front and watch their presentation. That was a really fun event to attend. But when it comes to the chip that I'm most interested in, the HX 400 series, the Ryzen AI HX 400 series CPUs, it was barely a footnote. And to be honest, it was a little bit of a letdown, but not necessarily unexpected because it's basically the same chip as last year with maybe a little bit of clock speed bump. So nothing major going on here. But the coolest thing, if I had to put them all in different buckets, like Panther Lake from Intel.
This is Core Ultra Series 3.
Is shaping up to be a really interesting chip. And it's funny, I haven't been super excited about Intel chips in a while. And before I get too far, I just want to shout out Dr. Ian Cuttress from Tech Potato. Saw him over there, was able to say hi, which was really fun for me. But Panther Lake, they were really pushing to have a really good product, and B, they really pushed the gamer hype at this event, and they weren't doing it without anything to back it up. It wasn't like, here's 2 to 3% more performance on an integrated graphics. No, they are pushing performance very heavily. They're putting a lot of resources into making gaming and frame generation, a priority. But it's not just frame generation. There is a lot of power underneath the hood of Panther Lake, and it is the processor that I'm most looking forward to seeing in a Surface Pro device in 2026. Now, I don't have any information on that at all. Just want to be clear and upfront about that. However, I would expect we're going to see the X2 Elite and the X2 Plus come to a Surface Pro device. And also, hopefully, we continue having an Intel option on the business side of things with Panther Lake. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll put Panther Lake in the consumer device. I really don't know. But I would, my non-negotiable at this point is I do want an x86 chip. Despite Qualcomm's efforts to improve compatibility, there's a couple things there. First of all, the X2 Plus and the X2 Elite, while they're good chips, very power efficient, the Panther Lake Series 3 chips are no joke. They're powerful and power efficient, and they're full x86, zero compatibility problems with this. And so for me, that's the chip that I want to see. Is Panther Lake in the Surface Pro, and that's what I'm holding out for. I don't know if that will happen or not. We've seen the whole entire Surface line convert over to Snapdragon, which is great for a lot of people. A lot of people are satisfied with their Snapdragon chips, but there's some people, a certain class of people, who haven't been satisfied with the Qualcomm chips for one reason or another. And one of the major reasons that I really want Panther Lake in a Surface Pro device is we've seen Surface Pro have about 39 watts of power that it's using. And a lot of the demos and everything that they showed with Panther Lake, using about 40 to 45 watts, it's super powerful. The graphics in it are really good. And if you watch my channel, you know I am a huge fan of my Lunar Lake Surface Pro. And Lunar Lake was the predecessor, well, kind of a predecessor to Panther Lake. And I absolutely love that machine. And the performance that you get in terms of graphics is quite high. If you're not running, a native ARM application, it's much more powerful. And I always get backlash in the comments from this. But in all my benchmarking that I've ever done with Lunar Lake, it far and away, for what I do, blows the Qualcomm chips out of the water in terms of graphical performance. And I've talked about this a lot. I'm going to get hate comments for sure. But the reality of it is they made a big deal at this Intel event. Like, hey, look, like we don't want to hear that x86 cannot be efficient as Qualcomm chips. They're really pushing for this to happen. They're on process nodes that are and I don't know how important this is to people, but they're building these fabs in Arizona. They're making these chips in Arizona, which, to have these fabs operating in the U.S., that's really exciting to me. As a U.S. citizen, I like to see industry operating in my own country because, it's not great to have almost all chips made in Taiwan just for the global situation, right? Anyways, I'm not an expert at any of this stuff. I'm just giving you my perspective and my feeling on things, whether that's accurate or not. Correct me in the comments if I'm off on that. But it seems like that's not a bad thing to have these chips being built in my own backyard. So that's exciting to me. But yeah, Panther Lake, what can we expect in terms of performance? Now, in some pre-release slides, there was a huge bump in performance comparing it to some of their competitors and even their last gen. I will tell you that you could expect on a Panther Lake chip, if you just look at the time spies, we saw Lunar Lake and AMD's Ryzen 890M. They're kind of coming in at about 4,000 on a time spy. Panther Lake should come in close to 7,000 ish, based on what I'm seeing in the pre-release drivers and what I saw at the event. And not only that, but they've done work to improve the frame generation situation. Now, a lot of people don't like frame generation, but I think some of that dislike is coming from a purist perspective. And the reality of it is, like, if you have a handheld gaming PC, which, by the way, Panther Lake, they're going to be working on bringing that technology, that process node, to really improving a handheld situation. They have plans for that, which is exciting because it seems like everyone else, they were all on the AI bandwagon, and no one seemed to even mention any of the things that a consumer might care about. And yes, consumers care about AI, but this is an industry event. It's industrial computing is a thing. Enterprise computing is a thing, especially here. But more and more, gamers and casual users and people who use their computer for, yes, work, but also play and graphics, like, we've kind of just been pushed on the back burner instead of AI. And Intel really pushed at this event, like, hey, look, like, we're doing stuff that are going to improve your life for gamers and for people who like to create. They had a demo there that was super interesting, that you can use Thunderbolt to connect two computers together. I didn't know you could do this. You can actually use a Thunderbolt connection. There are some, checkbox you need to tick, and I'm going to research this so I can do a video on it in the future. But you can connect two computers together with Thunderbolt and have them display their screen on the other computer. What this lets you do is use, OBS to record footage from one computer using another, so you don't have slowdown on your machine, and you can also copy files back and forth over that Thunderbolt connection. So really cool tech that they demonstrated at the show that was exciting. And this is the Consumer Electronics Show, but other than the Intel event, no one seemed to be focusing a lot on consumers in the way that I think consumers are ready for. All of this AI stuff that, yes, can be super valuable, but there's a very large portion of people who are not ready for that. They're not ready for AI to upend their lives and do everything for them. Maybe they take joy in doing some of the things that they want to do themselves.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And it was really nice to be an event where, yes, AI, there's more AI performance on these chips than any of their other competitors at this point. But they didn't shove it down your throat at the Intel event. They more, focused on things that are more interesting to me as a casual gamer and just someone who likes performance. And just to put that in perspective, if you're not like, I don't know time spy scores. So what you can expect is basically roughly a 4050 class GPU, but you don't have a discrete GPU. It's all integrated. It's all part of the processor itself. So to me, the Intel event was super exciting. I can't wait to get a thin and light laptop. I would love for it to be a Surface Pro, but maybe it's not a Surface Pro. The non-negotiables that I have right now for my personal computer is it's got to have at least 90 hertz on the display. It's got to have OLED. And it has to have integrated graphics that make it reasonable to run most games at low, even higher, even AAA games at low settings. I don't need it to be super high, and I want a Thunderbolt port so I can, if I do want a really high-end GPU, I can hook it up. But the nice thing, as these integrated chips get faster and faster, the less and less you may rely on your external GPU, which makes carrying things around a lot easier. And if they keep improving efficiency while they do it, it makes it so much nicer to be able to have a laptop that you can charge over USB-C using a power bank while you're out and about, at least at a conference like this. But super easy to charge, super easy to keep charged because it is so efficient. And that's what we're starting to see. So I'm really excited about Intel's Panther Lake, and I hope I see it on a Surface Pro in the near future. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned to the channel. Have lots of footage and coverage of CES, and I appreciate you. See ya.